Crew Pros, your single source for high-quality, affordable home services. If you are remodeling, repairing, or replacing, Crew Pros are the professionals that can do the job no matter the size. If you are thinking of remodeling your kitchen or bath, needing a new HVAC system, plumbing repairs, flooring, or a complete roof replacement, call Crew Pros. Crew Pros, proud sponsor of the Grizz 901 podcast.
Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said I don't have that fire in my eye no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
What up, Grizz Nation, and welcome back to another episode of Grizz 901. We are presented to you by Zach Jaworski State Farm, where they treat you like family. I am your host, Daniel Greer, and with me on this beautiful Thursday, after a big win, out in Canada, shout out Canada. He's Nate. What's up, man?
I'm not in Canada, but the game was in Canada, just to clarify. I know because I kind of look like I might be in Canada with, as Daniel described, my super cool cowboy gear. But no, I'm in fact not in Canada. But I need to just only watch the second half more often, apparently. That was a good game. I enjoyed that.
It was a game that they needed, man. They needed. Black Lives Matter. What's up, man? What's up? Dillon Brooks. We will get into Dillon Brooks 100%. I got to eat some crow, first of all. Second of all, the show is, we titled it Shoutout Canada, right? And that's what Brevin always says when either Dillon or whoever, right? Dillon or maybe Brandon Clark does something good. Shout out Canada. Man, what a night. What a night. It was fun, and it was a game that the Grizzlies had to have. And overall, that could be one of the games that they can always look back on and say, hey, we weren't playing our best. It was an ugly little stretch. They had a big win streak. They kind of felt themselves a little bit. And then they actually showed up, got it together, figured it out, right? That's what it all comes down to, being a professional and figuring it out. And they figured out a lot. And, shout out to the entire team, but also shout out to the coaching staff. There's probably a lot that went on behind closed doors. But the Grizzlies 119 at the Raptors 106, big win. Any takeaways from you? I know you missed the first half, right? Because you're on a date with your beautiful wife. And so Shout out the Mrs. Nate. But I will, I don't want to know if you're going to give your last name away or what, Mrs. Qualls. She's not Miss Claus, but Miss Qualls. But yeah, what a game. It was beautiful. But anything that you saw or that you want to talk about the first half, and then we'll get into the second half a little bit more.
So I didn't get to watch the first half at all. I was kind of keeping up with the box score, but we were at a nice dinner. And so I was doing my best to stay off the phone. I really didn't get to see much, but I was able to check it at halftime and just sort of check a few tweets and look at the box score as we headed out before the second half started. And it looked like the team that you want this team to look like, right? I mean, the fact that Ja had more assists than points at the half, and in a good way, is something that I think makes this team as best it can be. Because it means, one, Ja is making good decisions, getting a lot of people involved, and two, the people who are getting involved are knocking down the shots that he's opening up for them, right? And so I sort of want to know, because the second half, there were some things that I think looked like it happened in the first half as well. And then there's some things that looked like they happened in the first half that didn't happen. So the first thing that looked like, and I want to ask you, and then you tell me if it's actually what happened, because it looked like they did a really good job of keeping Jaren pretty involved on both ends in the first half. And then in the second half, he was less involved. But it also looked like everybody was involved in that first half to some extent. So it looked like even if Jaren was really involved, it was more so in the flow of the offense, not just feeding it to him to feed it to him. And the other two things that really stood out to me were, one, it looked like a big Jitty game. It looked like, especially the second half, when I was able to watch it, Jitty did a lot, which is what we talked about the other day. It's why you don't send him down to the G League, right? Like it's just a confidence thing with him. It's not the only reason I would send him down to the G League, but it's a confidence thing. That's why you don't take him out of the lineup. I shouldn't say send him down to the G League. Yeah. And the second thing is Dillon Brooks. Looked like you had not just good, like pretty much great Dillon Brooks. Looked like an awesome
best Dillon I've seen ever. Personally.
Looked like he put Siakam in a torture chamber based off that last tech that I saw too. And then the other thing was it looked like Bane did not have a good start to the game, but gradually got better as the game went along. Obviously, he fouled out at the end, which sneakily, I feel like Dez always has 3 fouls at least at the end of the game. He fouls quite a bit, but you don't see him foul out a ton. But that was the last thing I saw. And then Steve-O dominated the boards. It looked like he was just destroying the Raptors, who are a small team, on the boards. And that was what it looked like in the first half. Did I miss on any of those?
No, you were good. Jaren, I think the Jaren game was a little, I don't know, a little different. Jaren was a guy who looked like he was playing within himself. He obviously took 3 3-pointers. I think the one that he hit, it was kind of in rhythm. And the other 2 were kind of out of rhythm. Well, I think one of them was late in the shot clock. And I don't know if it was in the first or second half to be in general, but it looked like Jaren kind of just understood, like, hey, I need to get onto into the paint. And a lot of the assists, and shout out to our chat. Dillon Brooks was able to have some assists, and I think half of the assist, I think Dillon Brooks had 6 assists. Half of his assists went to Jaren on the night, and that was basically because he would just have a mouse in the house, and he was able to put his back in on somebody and kind of and post him up and score. And so that was one of the biggest things. But Jaren played within himself. There was nothing that Jaren did tonight that just kind of you're like, oh my God, like you see it click. No, you just saw him become himself, right? And kind of stay within himself. And so I think that was cool. We talked about Dillon. He was the game high scorer. He tied Siakam 25 points. So it's great that he can score, but also defend as well as he has. But Brandon Clark, not much of him. He was okay, but he did have 6 rebounds, which cast over for our Grizzly player watch. Aldama played really well. He only played 14 minutes, but he also got hurt. So that's something to watch is Aldama. Zaire, he had an efficient night, but he played 8 minutes. And so that's something I think we need to monitor and see what that's about. And is it about John Conchar, who played incredible tonight? He played like his old self. He was going to get those random rebounds, and that's really what he does. He does the little things, the Mr. Do Something 2.0, whatever you want to call it. That's what he used to do. That's what he did tonight. So I made the joke earlier that maybe John Conchar has a twin. And this whole time, John Conchar's twin's been playing. Maybe Conchar wanted a vacation on an island somewhere. And so, was it Bob Conchar came? And Bob's been playing. That's what it was.
Billy Conchar.
The other Conchar. 11-7 tonight. Good out of him. But yeah, the Grizzlies dominated the first half, and they dominated the rest of the game. And so what you saw in the second half was a few runs by the Raptors, but in the end, it was a dominant performance. And honestly, it was a Ja performance. Ja had that game however he wanted it. If Ja wanted to score, he could. If Ja wanted to assist, he could. Like this was Ja's dominant superstar performance. And I don't know if you see that every game, and I think sometimes we see it, a lot. But tonight was one of those ones where you see like, hey, that was just Ja's game. He could do whatever he wanted to.
17 assists
that's incredible.
That's no joke, man. You don't see that happen hardly any night in the NBA by any player, right? That's pretty awesome. And then see him get 19, 17, great game, obviously. But it just looked like he was in control, right?
Yeah,
he never looked, when I was watching the second half, out of control. He dictated that game the entire time I watched, which is what we're used to seeing from him, right? And I think that was the thing that was missing from these other games, the past few games where they've been on this bit of a slump.
Yeah.
They let the other team determine and dictate the entire game on both ends. Not only were they letting them run the offense they wanted to run, they were taking the shots they wanted them to take, right? The other team wanted them to take, whether it was the Suns, Warriors, whoever, and settling for threes, settling for jumpers, and not getting into their actions, getting into the paint. Ja taking control of the game and saying, this is how we're going to run the offense. That's what they needed to get back to, right? And it's not just give Ja the ball and watch. It's Ja gets the ball, and then everybody gets where they need to be. And it looked like that happened a lot tonight. The only, and as far as the Zaire thing goes, I do want to hit on that too. I didn't get to see it. He didn't look bad at all when I was watching him in the game. He was barely in the game.
Fine.
He
literally was 2 of 2 from the field and 1 of 1 from 3 with 5 points. He just didn't play.
I don't mind that, because what it means is that Taylor's giving the guys minutes to win. He's giving guys minutes to go and win. And that was going to be the thing I actually brought on here tonight, depending on how the game went and how it played out, was, I'm a big Roddy guy. They just sent Roddy down to the G League. Obviously, he'll be called back when they get back home. It's a 1-game road trip. I don't blame them. They're not going to play him tonight. Get him some minutes. But I was going to say, are you in development mode or win mode? And either way, I think Roddy should get minutes.
Wow.
Because he's playing better than he has been playing better than Jitty and Zaire both. And if Jitty plays like this, he's not going to be playing better, right? Jitty does a lot when he's playing confidently, but he's definitely better in Zaire right now. And he's just that it factor that you don't see. I see in Roddy. He's just a winning player that makes winning plays, but he makes winning plays. You know what I mean?
He does.
It's the little stuff that's like the Conchar stuff, but with more athleticism, right? It's like a more athletic John Conchar in a lot of ways. John obviously has a lot more savvy, know-how, does a lot more than Roddy at this point in their careers. But we can talk about all that later. The other thing that I saw that I want to make sure we talk about, that doesn't have to be now, it can be later if you want to. Tyus looked whack, dude, when I was watching the game. First half, I have no idea. He may have been in really good control, but there's one point where there was a loose ball. There was 2 or 3 Grizzlies on the floor, 3 or 4 Raptors on the floor, and Tyus had a chance to get on the floor and go get the ball, and he just didn't. Just didn't. And it's not like you have to be on the floor all the time. There's sometimes I'm like, Jaren, please don't get on the floor because you're very important. I'd rather you didn't. But it just sort of defines the way I think Tyus plays when he's ineffective, which is he's just super passive. Like the opposite of what I saw from Ja tonight, right? And so, again, I'm not trying to hate on Tyus, but he looked passive when he was the only point guard on the floor tonight too. And I don't know. It was something that concerned me, and I thought that summed it up pretty well, that moment.
Yeah, I'll say something that probably it's probably not popular, right? But I think it has to be said because it's how I truly feel. I think that this team wants to kind of reach the peak that it wants to be at. It needs to figure out a way to move Tyus at the trade deadline, bring in maybe somebody else, but be able to bring in a guy, and I'll just use him for example, like a Gary Trent Jr. I think they need more of that, especially playoff basketball. You're able to bring somebody off of the bench who can shoot and make 3 threes a game, who can be a decent defender. But that would be the ultimate flip. Like, hey, like I like Tyus. Tyus is a regular season player. He just is. Like if you think back at the 90s Atlanta Braves, they were just a regular season team. Okay, listen, I know it's baseball, but I have to go back to it. Whatever. But then you think about like Tyus. He's going to help you, and he's going to help you throughout the season. And you know what? If Ja ever does go down, he will help you limp into the playoffs and get to the playoffs. But you're never going to win a championship with him as a main focal point, especially when it actually comes down to the playoffs. He's going to get 12 minutes a game because 12 is going to be on the court as much as he possibly can. So if there's a way to move a guy like Tyus, that might be the way to do that instead of moving a guy like Dillon, especially if we get this Dillon, because this is I don't know. But so I don't know. I don't want to trade Tyus. Listen, I'm a Duke fan, right? I don't want to trade my guys. I love Tyus. but I just don't know if we could actually find another piece using him as bait in a sense in a trade, or is it like, hey, we can possibly do it because we have so many assets. So but something I did look at tonight is a guy like Gary Trent Jr. would be perfect on our team. So I hope that the Raptors keep sucking, and I hope they keep getting worse, and I hope they eventually decide to blow it up or sell some pieces, because he's got 1 year on his contract and he's got a player option, and then he's unrestricted. So we'll see. But I think a guy like Gary Trent Jr. would be great on this team. But we'll see. Anyway, enough about that. One thing I do want to say to wrap up this game, great game all around. Steven Adams dominates the game more often than he doesn't dominate. And he dominated again tonight. Like, there's nobody else in the league that can dominate a game like he can. And on the other side, you have Ja, who can dominate the game like he can. So it's great having those two guys. And something about Steven Adams, if you're a big Kiwi fan, make sure you stay tuned, because on the 1st, we play, is it 31st? 31st. We play the Pelicans, right? Guess who we're having, and you don't know this yet. Guess who we're going to have on the postgame show, Nate?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Big Steven Adams fan? Big Steven Adams fan.
Oh, I know who you're bringing in.
Funaki Stats. So if if you're a fan of the Steven Adams Stats Twitter account, Funaki Stats, I believe how it's pronounced. He will be on here, and we're going to be bringing the post game show with him. And so Nate may or may not be able to join me. It is the first, obviously the first day of the year. But I think it'll be cool. And the reason he asked for this game, just so we're completely clear, I gave him free reign, and I said, "Hey, what game do you want? These are the games, for the next 2 weeks. I think they have a holiday out there. That's what they call it for the next couple of weeks." But he said, "Give me the Pelicans game because I want to do JV and Adams, and I can't wait to talk about it." And I was like, "All right, let's do it."
That's been fun for any Steven Adams fans thus far. That's been a pretty one-sided matchup. But man, are you kidding me? If Funaki's going to be here, I'm going to be here. So,
Funaki,
say less. Say less. I'll be here.
All right. So what do you want to get into? So we have some things that we can hit on, but I kind of want to just give that to you. And chat, if there's anything that you want to hit on, we'd be more than happy to kind of go down, answer some questions, kind of talk about some things. But first thing, you know what? Let's go ahead and go into it. Let's go to the Dillon Brooks game, because I think that really it was his game tonight. And I know Ja 17 assists, but I'm talking about Dillon Brooks was just a madman tonight. So what did you see out of Dillon that you loved or didn't love?
6 assists.
Yeah, it's big.
6 assists, and we get into it a little while, or every once in a while, about what creation looks like, what playmakers look like, and whether or not Zaire can be a creator because of how he gets his assists, whatever. Dillon, I mean, obviously I was there for the most fun part of the game when they pretty much had it in hand, but that left-handed off the dribble assist to Adams down low,
beautiful
thing of beauty, thing of absolute beauty. And there was only one time I watched when he really just like stopped the ball. And I'll say this as well. I say that because he held the ball a lot down to end of the shot clock and put up a shot. That was the design of the offense, let me tell you. And I think it was a feed the hot hand type of thing. And that's why looking at the box score after the game, I got it more, because it looked like a feed the hot hand type of game. Otherwise, there's only one possession. I was like, Dillon, stop. But then I looked up and he was 4 for 7 from 3. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay. Go ahead, Dillon. Shoot your shot, buddy. But the 6 assists, obviously the shooting's great. We love that. But the 6 assists and then the just locking up dudes on defense. I mean, I didn't get to see him in live, but I saw some replays of some defensive possessions he had. And then I was able to go and see Siakam. Want to punch him in the face. Shout out to Pascal Siakam, because he really held back on what he wanted to do at the end there. And that just shows you what kind of night he must have had thanks to Dillon Brooks. And so that's his ideal role. And Dillon didn't respond to the tech, as I just liked it. I just liked both of those things. The shooting is a nice little bonus.
Yeah. Well, the shooting is the big because it was pretty efficient for the most part. Like that's the biggest thing with Dillon is when he kind of gets hot early, especially when he comes out of the gate and hits that open three to start the game. You're just like, oh my God, this is not going to be good because usually what he does is he follows that up with 3 more bricks from deep. And you're just like, all right, now he's 1 of 4. He's out of rhythm. He doesn't, he doesn't really have it, but he honestly kept it going the whole night. He was very efficient for the most part. And as Black Lives Matter said, he's bought in. Like that is, I think that is maybe what's happening. And I don't know if that's completely what he's doing, but it looks like it.
Dillon could have no shots, 8 assists, 3 steals, and then he just held the ball too long before passing it once. And you and Chris and probably the rest of this team outside of me would be like, I think he might be buying in. It's like, you guys, I think he might be buying in. Listen, I get it. I do get it. And he had a couple of rough games. Guess what? The entire city of Memphis had a couple of rough games. I was at one of them. I was ready to. I don't want.
Well, the city has some rough days with the water, like in general.
Yeah, we had some rough days anyway. That's probably why Dillon played so bad. I was skipping an excuse.
He got bad water.
He got bad water. But other than that, this has been his season. He's not taking the most shots. Even then, he took less shots than both Ja and Jaren tonight, even though he put up 25, right? Even when he had it cooking, he still took less shots. This has been the Dillon we've gotten most of the year. And, I saw some negative stuff the past few games. I understand it was frustrating, but I don't know why specific guys always get the hate when their entire team sucks. And listen, Dillon's been good this year. He's been consistently good this year. I don't know what more you want from the guy.
I got a question. All right. So you have this Dillon, right? Whatever this Dillon is. Okay. You have 14 attempts overall, 7 threes. Okay. So you have 7 2-pointers, 7 3-pointers. Even if he shoots half of that, are you still good with that? If you get the same kind of defense, are you still comfortable with that? If he goes, what was he, 7 of 14? So let's say he's 4 of 14. 4 of 14 on the night with 16 points.
Yeah. And the main thing is you don't have to make that decision this year. You haven't had to do that. The only times Dillon's jacked up a bunch of shots, even when he's missing them, is when the entire team's jacking up shots and missing them. Right. And so that's the conversation around Dillon needs to change because that's not what you're getting from Dillon this year. Right. In years past, that's what you're getting from Dillon. It's okay. Ja has it going. Dez has it going. Jaren's doing well. Somebody has it going, but he's still just jacking up shots. This year, if Dillon's jacking up shots, he's either open and just misses good shots, or everybody's missing a bunch of shots, right? Like, so the answer is yes, because I don't think you have to have that conversation. So I'm just not worried about. I don't think that's a conversation to have.
Yeah, no, I was just curious because in my opinion, if he goes 4 of 14, I still am okay with that. It's not the 4 of the 14. It's the 14 that I don't like. Anything above that, when you get to the 15, 16, 17, 18, I'm like, God, dude, just chill out because he's not an efficient shooter for the most part. But when he keeps it where it's an efficient game of just 14 or less shots, 15 or less, I'd be fine with. I think that is where Dillon is his best. If he plays the same defense and he gives us half of what he gave on the offensive end tonight, I'm actually perfect with that. This is the cherry on top game, okay? This is the game that you get used to. And so I think that he is finding his role, and I think he's accepting and he's buying in. And so as long as he's able to do that, like, why not? Like that's what I want to see in Dillon Brooks. So anything else you have, Dillon? And I kind of want to move around to some other players.
Yeah, no, listen, I think he's been bought in. Obviously, it's awesome to see him play well. And I think the one thing you can take away from this that we seem to be consistently learning is Dillon is a bright lights player. He seems to show up when the lights are brightest, which is good to see. And he just locks in more, I suppose. But yeah, I'm ready to move on. Let's go to somebody else.
Let's move on. Let's go to Desmond Bane. And I know we don't want to talk about it, but do you see anything with him? Because what I'm seeing is a guy that's out of shape. Okay. Like the arms, they're not even as chiseled as they used to be. Oh, Honey Bun's coming back.
He had a few too
I'm
many honey
kidding,
buns.
completely kidding. Desmond just doesn't look like himself. He doesn't look like he has the same flow to his game. And I think that's just coming off of injury, trying to get back into it. But I think Honey Bun's going to figure it out. He'll get the dad bod weight off, right? He'll actually get some sleep on the road, and then he'll be back to normal.
He's not going to come back ready to roll after missing
No.
17 games. And let's look at what people are saying. Oh, Dez, 6 for 13 from the field and 3 for 7 from 3 with 5 rebounds and 4 assists.
I like that. That's okay.
Yeah, that's the point. Like
Right.
he's shooting nearly 50% from both the floor and 3. And we're like, oh, we need Dez to get back. I'm like, that's pretty freaking good for any 2 guard that had sitting next to John Morant, right? And so, and we know that's not near the level of production he will be at. So I saw something. I can't remember what it was, but it was about Dez. It was negative, and it was all kinds of wild after the game against the Suns. I saw one wild thing against the Warriors. I saw another wild thing against the Suns. I cannot remember what it was.
You need to get out of bad Grizz Twitter. Like you're in it too deep, man. Come out.
I don't know who it is. It's never people I follow. It's someone who gets retweeted. So, but listen, all of Grizz Twitter's been kind of bad. Grizz Twitter for the past little bit, and you can't really blame anybody. But
hopefully this is the flip side of it.
It's like, do we not understand he's in his second game back from a injury that could have easily ended his season? Listen, he hit 3 for 7 from 3. We've seen him already have Dez moments. He took a guy off the dribble tonight for a bucket when the game got tight. Listen, he's not only is he going to be fine, he is fine. 3 for 7 from 3, 6 for 13 from the field.
Hey, did he cut his big toes off?
I don't know why.
Well, with turf toe, one of the most known people with turf toe, Deion Sanders, he cut both of his big toes off. He only has 8 toes because he had turf toe so much. He cut both of his big toes off. He had them amputated. So
he's like, I'm tired of getting rid of him. Don't eat him. I don't think he cut his big toe off. I think he's fine.
Right, so he's still 10 toes deep, so we're good. Yeah, I think Desmond's gonna be fine. I think we're good with Bane. He'll be good. He'll be back. The good thing is if we get this jaw, it doesn't matter what you surround him with, because this is the best jaw there is, right? Is when he's able to create for everybody else. And honestly, the Toronto Raptors were the 4th worst team in the league on giving up assists, right? So what they do is they do more of the collapse. And a lot of it's with Pascal Siakam, where if you get beat, he's really the main one that's coming over. And so the biggest thing for them is getting out to open shots and hitting them. And so somebody who was able to hit some open shots tonight was Santi Aldama. He's played well. I was really hoping. I saw Conchar and Santi both do it tonight, where they get the kick out to them and the ball never drops and they just do the easy thing. They actually both missed them. But if that can ever get, man, that would
Santi hits that consistently, though. I've seen him hit that as many times as he missed it.
Yeah, so he played well tonight. He is, like I talked about earlier, Santi Aldama is a little ankle injury. He didn't come back, but I think that's more of, hey, let's just kind of make sure you're good. They had a 20-point lead, 15-point lead at that point, and I think his rotation minutes were kind of up at that point. So no reason to bring him back, but I think that Santi will be fine. I would expect him to probably be out next game. Usually with ankles, especially a 7-footer, you're not going to have him back next game. That could be a big deal with, guarding a guy like JV or even Zion. So that's something to pay attention to. But somebody who I like for that game is Brandon Clark. He seems to always play well against the Pelicans. And I think that tonight was not a Brandon Clark night, right? Usually when he goes back to Canada, I'm expecting a big night. So we got it out of Dillon, but we didn't get it out of our guy BC. But I expect him to go ahead and keep playing the way he's playing. He's playing consistent. That's the biggest thing with BC is he's consistent. He's not doing anything crazy, but he's staying within himself, and which is obviously good to see.
Yeah, 6 rebounds is all I need to see from BC, right? 2 for 2 means he wasn't getting a bunch of shot attempts, but he was clearly involved. He was clearly involved tonight, even just in watching the second half, right? He wasn't getting a bunch of looks. He wasn't doing a ton on the defensive end, but he was always in the actions. He was always present. Right. He was always on his man or providing some really good help. So, listen, he was involved. It just doesn't show up on the stat sheet, right? It's not in the box score. So,
all right,
he's playing well.
Cool. Well, anything else you have in this game? I know we can talk all night about Ja and Steven Adams just going crazy, man. It was beautiful to see. Both of them had 17 in lines, stat lines that are not points.
14 points from Steve-O. I didn't see that. Let's go.
Steve-O,
I just now saw he had 14 points. That's awesome.
Steve-O was having so much fun when he caught the lob from Ja and dunked it, and then he looked kind of over his shoulder, and it was supposed to be Jaren's alley-oop. That was so funny because they absolutely loved it. It was a good funny moment.
Well, right. I do want to say the one thing, I know players played well and there's a lot of good stats, et cetera, et cetera. I'm telling you, after seeing them in person, the difference between this game and the game before, even from watching one half, the team was locked in. The want-to was there. The want-to hasn't been there since the Milwaukee game. Even in the games they won, it just hadn't been there, right? Like, maybe the first game against the Suns, but then they turned around and got daddy slapped by those dudes. It was embarrassing. And they just didn't want it. The Suns wanted that game, and the Grizzlies didn't. And Dillon said that in the post game. He's like, we had the energy. We were locked in. We wanted it the entire game. That's the difference. That's what we have to have night in, night out from this team. And listen, hopefully that switch got flipped fast, right? That's the sign of a good team is flipping it quick. We've seen it from Boston this year, Phoenix this year. There's another team, I can't remember who already this year, but the Nets flipped it really fast, right? And so want to see that going forward. But get David Roddy minutes. Free big body Roddy.
There are no minutes.
Listen,
they're gone.
He can take all 8 minutes.
We can't get Zaire but 8, man.
We sent the wrong guy to the hustle.
They're both there.
Guy to the hustle.
They're both there. What are you talking about?
Zaire Williams?
Oh, yeah, he's not there. Jake LaRavia is down there, okay? He needs to be. Hey, and can I give myself a little pat on the back? I said that come December, mid-December, January, we're going to have Roddy and LaRavia both down the G League. They're both going to be down there getting minutes because they're not getting minutes on the main team. And everybody talked to me like I was crazy. Not so crazy anymore, am I?
I didn't think you were crazy. I just didn't want it to happen because I loved him. Now I don't want it to happen because he's been freaking kicking butt every game. Roddy has been great when he's been playing the past month. So, listen, Black Lives Matter in chat said Z played well. I agree. Z runs the floor really well, better than anyone on the team. He's awesome. Roddy has been doing more to contribute to winning. He doesn't run the floor as well, but he is able to defend really well. Zaire can defend really well, but I thought Roddy's on-ball defense was similar to Dillon's on-ball defense, which is the best we have on this team still so far. He was hitting turnaround jumpers. He's getting in the drive. He's creating his own shot. And he's hitting corner threes. Yeah. With Ja Morant on the floor. I don't know what more you want from a role guy.
Well, Roddy, honestly, like he's the next man up. He'll get his time. They're gonna rest players. Santi Aldama literally just was injured. Santi is probably going to be out, like I said, the next game. That's Roddy time because you have Roddy that can match up against who? Big boy Zion. That might be a good matchup where two guys that have a little beef to them. I think that could be a time. So you're about to get your Roddy fix. So slow your roll a little bit and enjoy yourself for your New Year. Your New Year's Eve, you get a little appetizer of Roddy and Zion.
Well, listen, I do want to say I understand why they're playing Zaire and they're not playing Roddy, right? I'm not dumb. I get it, but I think Roddy can be a real contributor on this team right now. So I would like to have the opportunity to see it. I'm done. All
right, he's done, ladies and gentlemen. You know what we're not done with is the show. But before we get to that, let's bring in our people with Zach Jaworski, State Farm. They're my provider. They can be your provider. Talk to Zach this week. Good things coming. We're actually going to do some new stuff with them coming up soon. And so good stuff out of the State Farm team over there. Give them a call over at 901-443-4798. ZachInsuresMemphis.com. You can go on their website, give you a free quote over the web, right? The World Wide Web. Go get you one from Al Gore's best. Al Gore's best. Isn't he the one that came up with the internet? I don't remember.
I don't know.
All right, so give our guys Zach over at Zach Jaworski State Farm a call. I think he came up with the internet. I don't know. Who knows?
He's the one that came up with global warming.
Maybe. All right. So give our guys Zach a call. Tell them the Grizz 901 team sent you. Also, we got some new merch. I actually have some merch here.
Fun fact. Guess who doesn't have theirs here?
You don't?
Still don't have it, too. I have to check it out.
I got a whole box of Grizz 901 merch. So go over and get your merch. If you're watching this on YouTube, I just showed one of those shirts that we have. But it's at grindcitydesigns.com/Grizz 901. grindcitydesigns.com/Grizz 901. Just go over there, get your Grizz 901 merch. We're going to have other stuff coming up. But until then, we have our logo so far. All right, let's get into some game predictions real quick. And this is going to be just about the Pelicans. Anything that you've seen, because they're hot right now. And we don't want to spend too much time on them, but the game is coming up, is on the 31st, right? So in 2 days, it's going to be Saturday night. So isn't that right? Saturday or is it Sunday?
Looks
Saturday,
like
right? Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. So Saturday, which is New Year's Eve, big game. Let's see what happens. Do you think that the Pelicans been playing well? They're 22-12. Grizzlies handle business at home.
It's going to depend on which Grizzlies show up. If the Grizzlies that showed up tonight show up, then Grizz will win that game. But it'll be tight. Listen, I'll say it this way. If the Grizzlies that show up tonight show up, it'll take a Herculean effort by Zion like he had against the Timberwolves last night to beat them. Anytime you got a player like Zion on another team, they can go next level. But we have a player like that on our team that can go next level, and against the Pelicans typically does. And so that Zion-Jaren matchup that's been intriguing since Zion got to the league is going to be the one to watch. I think if Jaren's able to not win but contain that matchup, the Grizzlies take that. If not, then it's going to be a shootout. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, they've been playing well as of late. Now that, New Orleans is back in the driver's seat. They're back in the number one in the West, which is, kind of from them, that just means they're playing well. But the great thing about all of this is they play the 76ers at home Friday. So tomorrow night, they're favored by two points against the 76ers. That's a big game. But also, they have to catch a flight and come up to Memphis with less than 24 hours turnaround, back-to-back. That should get them at a disadvantage. The Grizzlies should have a chance to actually catch a team on a back-to-back where they've had a day of rest. So they're both going to have some travel involved, but I think that the Grizzlies can handle business if they come out with the same energy they came out with tonight in the first quarter. Like, that has to happen.
Yep.
You can't show up and expect that you're going to be the best team without giving the proper energy. Yep. These are professionals. You have to show up with the energy.
Well, and this felt like a get-right game, right? Not before the game, because I actually was, until they got right, I wouldn't have been putting any kind of money on the Grizzlies, right? Like, they were clearly not themselves, other than method of first basket. I bet on that every time I'm back in Tennessee from now on. I hate that I discovered it right when I had to come back to Utah. But since, during that game, after that game, feels like it was a get-right game. And listen, hopefully they learn their lesson and they stay locked in. Yeah. And if they stay locked in, then I expect them to get another 7-game winning streak going, right? Because when this team shows up, I stand by what I said when they were on that winning streak. There is not a team in the West I would take against them. They have the talent and they have the discipline when they are locked in to beat everybody and anybody.
Yeah.
They just have to actually do it. They have to show up. They have to give that energy. And if they're humbled and they keep doing that for the rest of the season, let's not just get one good week. Yeah, we're in a good place, and they will win. They will win on Saturday night.
Well, maybe they choked on their humble pie because they've kind of got it back up. They're feeling it. They played much better tonight, and I think that going forward, they know now how to respond. And I think it's learning lessons. And I think people forget that these guys are still, 25 or less, for the most part. Like except for, I think Jitty's like 26 or so. And then you have Steve-O, Tyus. I guess Dillon, I think Dillon's like 27, 28. But either way, like there's a lot of young players, especially Jaren, Ja. Like they're young and they're still learning. They're 3, 4, 5 years into the league. And they have to have these moments that kind of ground them a little bit. And I think a game like tonight, understanding what you have to do after you weren't able to do that, after you weren't able to put out the type of energy to actually accomplish a win, I think it's good. I think this is best for who? The coach. This is the big chance for Taylor Jenkins and his staff to say, see, this is what we've been talking about, and you finally did it. This is who you can be. It's up to you. And I think it's what it comes down to is at this point, they look themselves in the mirror and say, if we want to be the best in the West, we want to not worry about anybody in the West, then this is how they have to play. It's just the truth.
Yep. That's it.
So.
That's my sentence. Agreed. Correct.
Glad we're on the same page. All right. Anything else you have? Let's go ahead and get out of here. It's, we've been going on long enough. It's a long night. Why not? And my voice, I don't know if it can go much longer. Somehow the frog got my throat, and now I can't really talk too well.
Yeah,
so.
I've got something in mind too, but let's not go too far down that rabbit hole before we turn this into not a family show because we're both idiots. But the only thing I got outside of this and these games is really the Grizzlies stuff. We sort of gave everybody, and I sort of gave myself a couple of weeks off for the holidays. We've been riding pretty hard, got a lot of stuff churned out, and so got off of the recaps, and we were about to have a pretty hot recap coming out next week. If this game went south, there was definitely going to be one coming that was going to be less of a game recap and more of a venting session for fans around the world. But after this game and after Saturday, hopefully they put up another good effort. We'll get back just to the regular recaps, and then we'll have a lot of good content rolling back out. But gave myself a couple of weeks off, so that's why I haven't seen any content. But look for it starting beginning of next week. We'll get back on top of it.
All right, Nate, got a question.
I probably have an answer.
I hope you have an answer. How's the old Wienergate going these days?
Wienergate, dude. Honestly, incredibly. Apparently, I have not paid as much attention to it as the rest of our team has, but apparently, Warriors Twitter has decided to spend an inordinate amount of time talking about Klay Thompson's wiener because I made a joke about it for about 30, 45 seconds. So
yeah, it was at least 2 minutes. At least 2 minutes.
Did we go on for 2 minutes?
I think
for 120 seconds.
There's no we involved in this. It was more of you than me.
Well, listen, I'll put this out there because a lot of people didn't get to the part of the episode where I actually explained what I was talking about. It's all jokes. We're all friends here.
It's all jokes.
We're all friends here. This is a good place. The motto of the show, be nice and tell your friends. Even though I'm the one that's typically not nice to people named Klay Thompson, Steve Kerr, and Karl-Anthony Towns. But listen, it's been great publicity. Shout out to Dub Nation. We appreciate you guys. It's not that deep.
They will never, ever hear the end of this podcast. Never, ever.
It's not that deep. Something tiny can't be that deep. So
this is true. And we'll end it on that because shout out to the Bay Area. And honestly, shout out to Canada. Why not, man? What a game out of Dillon. It was great being the Raptors. And it's been a great Christmas so far. It's going to be a great New Year's. And we will not be on here again before the new year. So any New Year's resolutions that you have personally, anything coming up?
Yeah, work out more and eat less because I feel pretty crappy after the past few games. Nah, man, listen, to be honest, this is going to sound super cheesy, but this has been an awesome year. There's been a lot of cool stuff. This is actually going to, in a few weeks, be my first full year with the team, which feels crazy. It feels like I've been here forever, but I just want to be able to recharge like I have been able to and come back and keep growing, keep improving. It's been a ton of fun to see this grow over the past year that I've been here, and we got all the momentum in the world. It just keeps happening. So excited to keep that going. far as personal resolutions, I don't know. I'll keep those to myself. But I'm excited for this team and what we got ahead of us, man. And not just the Grizzly team, but the Grizzlies as a whole. It's just a fun time to be a fan. And I always like to remember we're fans. We're just fans to get on here and have a really blessed opportunity to be on here and be able to talk about it and have people join us. So it's fun.
No, 100%. I think we all have the resolution. We need to work out more. And then we get a few days in, we're like, F it. We're good.
I did it this past year, though.
We'll figure it out.
I got off the train for Thanksgiving, and
We'll embrace a little bit of a little extra loving. Not a big deal.
So I got to drink this. I'm not going to say that. Hey, I caught myself.
No, but you know what, though? I think that was what you said was perfect. I shared a little excerpt from, I think it was the mismatch this past week with Verno and Kevin O'Connor. And it was always kind of looking back on seeing like, hey, what does this mean to us? What does the Grizz 901? What does Grizzly mean to us? And me and my wife were kind of talking about tonight. And honestly, it's fun. Like, this is what I love. This is what I enjoy. We all have our daily normal jobs, right? But we also have this. And I feel like it's continuously growing and becoming, its own thing. And from the support of everybody else, if you're still listening to this, and obviously you support us, and thank you. But it's been a big thing that we've kind of undertaken, and it's been honestly awesome. And so this next year, the second half, I guess, of the season for the 2023 season, I think there's so much more that we have. We brought on the No Bluffing podcast. We brought on Free Basketball to give you more content. And we've even changed to now doing post-game shows instead of doing shows during the day, because I think that's what everybody wanted, and it also gives more content to everybody else. So we're going to keep doing the interview series. We did Parker Fleming. Unfortunately, he had a bad connection for whatever reason. It just was not able to connect on his end, so he was a little in and out. But the content was still good. Parker's really good. We have Funaki Stats, as we said earlier, Steven Adams stats. If you're looking for any kind of Steven Adams stuff, you know who that is. And so he will be on with us at the next post game. I don't know when we're going to do that, so stay tuned. We're not going to do it New Year's Eve night. I'm sorry, I can't. I didn't realize it was then.
Zero chance.
We're probably doing that on the 1st. Okay, so stay tuned. We got a little bit of a break between that, but yeah, he'll be on here doing that with us. And so listen, a new year, I think there's only so much better that we're going to be. We've grown this just in a year of being what it is now. And I think it's finally catching its stride in its second season. And I can't imagine 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now what this actually has become. So we're looking to take this to bigger and brighter, heights. And honestly, we finally got a sponsorship from State Farm. So shout out Zach and his team over there. That just makes us look good, but also pays a little bit. So shout out to the rest of the team if they're still listening. Thank you all so much. But I don't have anything else. Have a happy new year. And most of all, be nice and tell your friends.